In this video, we're going to discuss the language and the notation of integers. So we've been discussing integers for the past few videos, but we're about to talk about operations. And there's something that you may or may not have noticed yet that I just want to bring to your attention. This symbol. So notice I am not even going to say the name of this symbol because there's two ways that we can talk about this symbol. In the past, you have probably used this symbol to represent addition. Now it can also represent a positive number read as, so if you see this, we would read this as positive 4. And let me just put an addition example over here. Here we have two numbers with this symbol in between them. That means that we are adding these two numbers, and we wouldn't say 3 positive 4. Here we would say 3 plus 4. So, same symbol, two different meanings, either describing the sign of a number or describing an operation between two numbers. So, we are going to agree to say language is very important, so practice either reading this out loud or saying this in your head when you're working on these problems. So let's agree to say the word plus when we mean addition, so here we mean addition, and positive when we refer to a number sign. Okay. Now notice similarly we have this symbol, this dash symbol. In the past you've probably used this symbol to represent subtraction. Now it can also mean a negative number, such as this number right here that we'd read as negative 4, or sometimes the opposite of 4. Okay. Typically we're going to use the word opposite when the number itself is in parentheses, but we can actually use either. They are equivalent. But now that we have these two meanings for this one symbol, we want to use the appropriate word. We are going to say minus when we mean the operation of subtraction, and negative when we're referring to the sign of a number. So here we would say 4 minus 3. Because this symbol is indicating that we're performing the operation of subtraction between these two numbers. Okay. In this situation, notice there's not a number before it. We are just talking about the sign of a number. This is negative 4. We're not going to say minus 4. Okay, so minus would be if we were subtracting 4 from something, and there's not anything before it that we're subtracting 4 from. Okay. So, now we're going to write the given numbers or mathematical expressions using correct language, using the words opposite of, negative, positive, plus, or minus. So let's look at the first one. So how would we read this? Now notice this is just a single number. Okay. The sign of the number is negative. It isn't expressing an operation. There's not a number before it that we're subtracting from, so this is the sign of our number. So we would write this as negative 6. Let's look at the next one. Now we have two symbols, two dash symbols. Okay. There's no number in front, so we could think of this as asking us to find the opposite of negative 6. And there's a simplified version of that. The opposite of negative 6 is 6. But we're going to write this expression out as is in words. So it's the opposite of negative 6. Let's look at the next one. Now notice here we have a dash symbol and this symbol. Okay. Now the dash symbol, there's nothing in front of this, so this means that this is the sign of 3. So we have negative 3. Now this symbol isn't referring to the sign of 2. Okay. This is telling us to perform the operation of addition on these two numbers. So I'm just going to highlight this to let us know that this is an operation. Notice that 2 is in fact a positive number, but we're not using a symbol to say that it's positive. So remember, sometimes with positive numbers, or most of the time, we don't write the symbol. Okay. So this is saying negative 3 plus 2. Okay. This is not referring to the sign of 2, although 2 is positive. So we have negative 3 plus 2. And in our last example, notice we have two numbers here, 3 and negative 4, and this symbol is telling us that we're subtracting. Okay? The sign of 3 is positive, and again, we're not writing it. We can tell that this is the sign of 4, this is a negative 4. It's in parentheses. Frequently we do that, although here we didn't with a negative 3. Okay? And we can see that this symbol is referring to the sign. So I wanted to highlight that. Or this symbol is referring to the operation between the two numbers 3 and negative 4. So we have 3. For subtraction, we write minus, and then our second number is negative 4. So again, as we're going through these problems, make sure you intentionally practice using the correct language in your head or reading it out loud, because these ideas will help you determine in the future whether we're talking about the signs of numbers or the operations, which is going to be very important.